Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Channel, the only show with more passion than Nick Sirianni staring down a referee. We are the Schluter Bros, and tonight it's about the Super Bowl champs. We're breaking down their fantasy football players. If you haven't subscribed yet, we are sending Nick Sirianni to your sideline to emotionally stare you down until you question all of your life decisions. Subscribers who comment below their favorite Eagle will get the full Schluter rankings for free. Adam, how are you doing? This is the last team breakdown. Are you ready?
Man, I am excited. How are you doing today?
I am doing great.
Folks, we have a new segment today, draft day order games, which we'll get into first. After that, Kyle's going to break down some NFL news for you, breaking down the Eagles' historic run last year. But most importantly, we're going to break down all of their fantasy relevant players. After that, a little coaching and O-line breakdown. Let's have a day, Phillies fans. Let's have a day. First and foremost, the fun segment, draft day order games. So this is what people do to help determine your draft order. This year, we are doing a little drinking relay times. We're going to start with flip cup, do a beer pong shot, 3 bags and the bag toss, and then sprint through the finish line, and the timing is going to determine. Other fun ones we've seen is dudes running on knee height through the ocean for a time trial. Kentucky Derby lottery, where you draw names and horses, and if your horse wins, that determines the order. I've seen beer chug trial. Madden Showdown, little single elimination Madden games, golf shot closest to the pin. Let us know what some of you guys do for your draft day order determinations. There's some good stuff out there if you look online.
We should do that horse racing game the night before one year. That's what we
Ooh,
should do.
that would be fun. Just
Yeah.
most chips at the end of the night go by chip count.
Yeah. All right, let's talk a little news and drama. Rashee Rice expected to have a meeting with the NFL Tuesday, September 30th, which really sucks for fantasy football drafts because we don't know.
Yeah, a mid-season suspension would be terrible.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. The young lad McConkey is dealing with a minor undisclosed injury, but is expected to be a full strength week one. This one I don't like the most. I don't know why this was so in the dark. I don't remember seeing this. Jaden Reed, Packers receiver, currently dealing with a foot sprain. Currently wearing a walking boot while the team is hopeful he can return for the season opener. I don't like
A
that.
foot sprain is not good. There's some certain spots on the foot that don't get great blood supply to heal, so that is not good. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. Without him, our wide receiver core looks a lot more questionable.
And also love having that procedure as well right now. So I don't
Jesus,
like
come
what I'm
on, guys.
seeing
What are
there
we
for
doing? It's
Green Bay.
training camp. What are we doing out there?
Khalil Shakir is trending towards playing week one and is considered week to week with a high ankle sprain. Brandon Ayuk is targeting a week 6 return currently, targeting. And
That's
then
not a guarantee.
Isaiah Likely, he did fracture his foot and sprained his ankle at the end of July. There's a possibility he's ready week one. My guess is if he is, he's going to be very limited at the beginning of the season. So that's some news for you guys on some players. Adam, we're talking Eagles. We got to give it to them. They were Super Bowl champs last year. Congratulations. I was rooting for them in that game.
Why?
Break them down for us.
Why were you rooting for them?
I just didn't want to see the Chiefs win another.
Okay, that's fair. All right, well, fly, Eagles, fly, baby. 14-3 last year, led the NFC East. One of the most phenomenal seasons I've witnessed to date in my NFL watching career, especially with running the dang football. Their total offense was eighth, 367 yards per game, 53 total touchdowns. Rushing rank was second, 179 rushing yards per game, pound and ground, baby, 29 TDs. Passing rank was 29th. I'm going to say that again. Passing rank was 29th, 187 yards per game, 24 touchdowns. The Vegas win-loss projection is 11.5. Kyle, where are you going on that?
I'll take 12.
Fourth.
Yep.
You take you loser. 12.
I mean, look at the division. I don't think the Cowboys are, maybe they'll be a little better, but I don't think they can compete with Washington and the Eagles. The Giants, I don't think will be very good at all. So it's really Commanders or Eagles who I like both of, and I think they both can be somewhere around 12 wins.
Well, here's a counterpoint here. They have the fourth hardest schedule. The Commanders are phenomenal. Cowboys will improve a little bit, but will there be a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover? It's real. We've seen it before.
Mm,
So I'm gonna go under at 11. I'm taking the
okay.
under on that. I think they're gonna be a little hungover. They got what they wanted. We'll see if they come out fighting and as hungry, but we'll see. We'll see how they do. Why don't you take us away here into what matters most?
Yeah, let's talk about the fantasy football players. At quarterback, Jalen Hurts finished last year as QB8, projected QB4 right now, current ADP around 40. Very low for passing for him. He threw for only 2,900 yards and only 18 touchdowns. So for fantasy, you certainly were not happy with that with his arm. However, giving him that QB8 finish, 600 yards with his legs and 14 rushing touchdowns. So there is where his strength comes in and his floor to put him where he finished, honestly, in my opinion, last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to start us off, Jalen Hurts is an amazing runner, one of the best quarterback runners I've ever seen run the football. However, we need to face some facts here. He struggles to throw the football at times. Much to the dismay of Philly fans, he does. Sometimes he looks terrible throwing the football, but for fantasy purposes, it doesn't matter so much because they got the good old tush push, and the tush push stays alive again this year, even though the Packers put in a bid to have that removed. So that's at least another year strong, going another year strong, which is why he's an amazing fantasy value. However, at quarterback 4, that is slightly overvalued to me due to what I said about him throwing the football. He's going to get his rushing upside, but there is better rushing quarterbacks who throw the football better than he does. On top of that, you know they're going to hand it off at least 300 times to Saquon, and he's going to get a lot of carries and a lot of volume, which also hurts the ability for them to even need to throw the football. So due to that, he is overvalued here fantasy-wise. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty bold prediction. So I guess as we're talking
I didn't really.
rankings here, where
I
are
just said
you?
overvalued.
Where are you going to have him in your rankings for quarterbacks then?
Probably 7.
Because he's 4 for me right now, and I just don't see the guys in front of him. I just don't see having much rushing upside. So that's why I have him there.
Yeah, no, I get it. Again, the rushing upside is the only thing keeping him in that top 5 marker. But I could see Bo Nix outpassing him. I could see our boy Joe Burrow outpassing him, even though there's no rushing upside there. And I think we're going to have a quarterback or two surprise us this year. So therefore, 7 again, not just because of how miserable he throws the football sometimes, and how sometimes they don't even need to throw the football. They can win games in the first half just by running the football with Saquon and him. So due to that, they can just let off the gas in the second half and just let the game kind of expire.
So I can see obviously Lamar, Allen, Daniels, we have ahead of him. And then I could see Burrow. I could see Burrow ahead of him. But outside of that, with his rushing and touchdown upside, it's very hard for me to want to, take other guys in front of him. Some of those
Mm-hmm.
other guys that I see right after him on my rankings right now are Dak, Kyler, Nix, Goff, Mahomes, Stroud, Herbert. Like to me, Hurts is clearly better than those guys.
Yeah, I mean better. Yeah, I mean better overall. But again, it's not as much about Hurts is being bad as it is the offense and rushing being so good. They don't need him to have a shootout. They don't need him to keep putting up points the full game, and that's the point I'm trying to make. It's not as much of a knock on Hurts outside of his throwing as it is just the team need. They don't need it.
Well, I agree they'll be better. They're a great team at running the ball, and they don't necessarily need him to throw like Joe Burrow. I still think last year was very low, and I think he'll get an uptick in passes, yardage, throwing touchdowns this year.
If
I
they run
see
the
I
football
see a
as good as
bounce
they did
coming
last
his
year,
way.
if they run the football just as good as last year, which they probably will, I don't think there will be an uptick. I think it'll stay about the same.
Okay, fine. We'll leave it at that. You're lower on him for ADP and how you think the offense is going to move this year. I still can't get him out of top 5 just because of his rushing floor. So that's where he is for me. I know he did finish 8th last year, but that's just how I would draft personally. Let's see who finished ahead of him last year: Lamar, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, Jaden Daniels, Jared Goff, and Bo Nix all finished in front of him last year. So I
Mhm.
guess you'd have to be able to make a case for them. I'm much lower on Baker, much lower
We
on
know.
Goff.
We know you
Bo
hate Baker
Nix,
and Goff.
Bo Nix would be, I guess, close-ish for me, but I'd still rather have that rushing floor with Hurts.
Okay. I can see Kyler getting thrown in there just because Kyler's team is going to have to play the full game and they're going to need him to chuck and run. So that's someone else that could sneak in there as well.
Okay. We'll have that. This will be a argument then for our final rankings here.
Yeah.
Top five for me. You're just outside for him. Let's talk divas. AJ Brown finished as wide receiver 17. That was a little surprising to me, especially where he's being drafted. He's projected as wide receiver 9. Finished as wide receiver 17, and current ADP is around 20. But he didn't play about 4 weeks last year. I think there's 3 games he was injured, and then the last game he sat.
Guys that I would take in front of A.J. Brown, Brian Thomas, Drake London, Lad McConkey. Most of those guys are going slightly after him, and I say that for 2 reasons. One, A.J. Brown only had 67 catches last year. And again, bringing back the point of they don't need to throw the ball to stay in the games, and those other guys I mentioned will need to. So due to that, those other guys will get more targets, more volume, and they'll just have more overall potential to add production to your fantasy team because A.J. Brown isn't needed. He's going to be sitting on the sidelines in the fourth quarter, reading his book, being a little whiner, doing what divas do. And that's why I think A.J. Brown is very overvalued for fantasy. Is he a great receiver? Yes, but he's overvalued for fantasy football due to what I mentioned.
Okay, so what are some of the guys you just said in front of him?
Brian Thomas, Drake London, Lad McConkey.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I have him a little higher, but he's probably going to land somewhere around wide receiver 10, 11 for me right now, assuming our joint decisions don't push him back further. But
Sure.
still, we are lower on him than ESPN by a couple spots. ESPN's got him going for last year. He had 97 targets, 67 catches, just over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. Missed the 3 weeks, I believe, with an injury, and then sat the last week of the season. ESPN's got him for 142 targets, 91 grabs, 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns. So they're expecting a bounce for him. What I really find interesting is how close he actually was to DeVonta Smith last year. Like these guys were much closer than we all thought to believe.
Yep. And that's again, not knocking AJ Brown, but it's just value wise where he's going. Now, on the flip side of that, we talk about DeVonta Smith, finished as wide receiver 28, projected at wide receiver 29. Now, this is someone that has some value who I would much rather have on my team due to where he's going in the draft. DeVonta Smith had one more catch than AJ Brown last year. He had 833 yards and 8 touchdowns. Due to the value of where he's going, I'd much rather prefer him since they're similar in catch rate than AJ Brown. And I do really like DeVonta Smith, especially in some PPR leagues. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from a total points perspective on the season, they were 20 points apart. And if you can get him 2 to 3 rounds later, I see value there, yes. I do think AJ Brown still has the higher probability to outperform and to make more and bigger plays. And I would project AJ Brown to have more touchdowns. That didn't happen last year, but he also missed a few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, DeVonta Smith had 22% of the target share in the last 4 seasons. And when you're talking about you can get him 4 rounds later and he had one more touchdown and one more catch than A.J. Brown, that's the point I'm trying to make within DeVonta Smith. They're similar. Again, they're not similar players and how they play and the explosiveness to A.J. Brown. I get it. But in terms of you can get him 4 rounds later for similar production, from a fantasy draft perspective, that's what you have to be aware of.
Okay. So I do see value there, especially more in a PPR format.
Yeah.
For standard, if I'm going to take a swing, it would probably be at AJ Brown, just outside of his ADP. Is probably where I would take him.
I like him more in standard as well. That's fair. That's fair enough.
We are unfortunately a little lower on this passing game compared to consensus, just by a little bit.
Yep.
And that's just how it's going to land. Anything else you want to talk about DeVonta Smith?
No, I like him a lot though. He's a fun small playmaker out there. Okay. Consistent.
Jahan Dotson, we're out on for fantasy, 3rd receiver on the depth chart. Dallas Goedert, interesting tight end here. He finished as tight end 25 last year, projected tight end 12. Current ADP is around 140, and I believe he missed about 8 games last year. Only had 2 touchdowns. ESPN's got him going for a season here. 83 targets, 65 catches, just under 700 yards, 4 touchdowns. What do you think? What do you make of this tight end?
Yeah, I mean, he's a tight end too. I think I heard something about him being on the trade block. Don't know for sure there. When he's out there and healthy, he's been consistent enough. However, he's 30 years old, not that fast, and every time he catches the ball, he falls over immediately. So I don't love that for yards after the catch sake. Not someone I'm really eyeing up or targeting, just like any of these receiving weapons. Again, just with a run first team that has Jalen Hurts throwing the football. I'm not licking my lips for any of these guys, and Dallas Goedert falls into that category as well.
Okay. I mean, if we're down on all of their major pass catchers, there's got to be something that, we're missing the value on here. And for me, I think it is one of these guys, and it'd probably be Goddard or AJ Brown. Goddard,
Well,
Goddard, I
that's
think could
funny because
outperform his ADP, and then I would say AJ Brown just for his true talent and upside. But I am slightly behind ESPN with a couple positions here, and then you're thinking DeVonta Smith for the
yeah,
value where you draft him.
yeah, we're in disagreement there, and that's exactly right. Yep, that's exactly right. And it's because the pieces of this team that you want are Jalen Hurts due to running the football, and more importantly, and we know Mr. Saquon Barkley.
Yep, let's talk about him, the man.
Finished as RB1 last year. Just wow. Wow, 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 wow. He's projected as RB2 this year with an ADP average of 3. The dude had over 2,000 rushing yards on 345 carries, 13 touchdowns, another 33 catches through the air, and 2 tutties there as well. Not to mention the dude can hurdle guys backwards. That in itself, it may not have fantasy value, but in terms of when you're rooting
Style
for
points.
a player, it's got style points, and those matter for the heart, not so much for the team. Saquon Barkley, way to prove the Giants wrong and give them a middle finger. So happy for you, my man. And with this offensive line in front of him, it is just the most dominant rushing attack we have seen in many, many years. 2,000 rushing yards. Are you kidding me? Like,
That's
just
awesome.
insane.
That's epic. Okay, and finished as RB1. So congrats to Saquon last year. He got paid as well. Projected RB2 this year. His ADP is around 3. Let's talk about the case for the guys around him and him. So we look at all their averages here. And in this order, for average rushing yards, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs. 5'9", 5'8", 5'7". All off the charts for averages.
Yeah.
And total rush yards, closer than you think. Henry and Gibbs, crazy with the touchdowns.
Yeah. Yep.
That's probably because
Yep.
Hurts steals them with his legs here. So that is a few points away from Saquon when you have Hurts rushing in touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely. And that does, I don't want to say it hurts Saquon, but it does a little bit, when your core team has 14 or whatever the heck he had. Yeah, 14 touchdowns. Like that hurts a little bit. But also when they run the ball, 75% of the time, it doesn't hurt that much. Kyle, I want to have a little mini debate with you here. Saquon Barkley or Bijan Robinson, who you got and why? Obviously, Bijan's listed as a clear number 1, but when Saquon finished his RB1 last year, it begs the question.
Bijan had 300 carries, 1,450 yards, average 4.8 yards a carry, 14 touchdowns. Bijan had 60 catches for 430 yards receiving. So by looking at these numbers and how they're utilized in the offense, PPR, I have to would give a tilt to Bijan. So I think for that one, it's easy to take Bijan over Saquon. Standard scoring, you could make a case for either of these guys. Generally speaking, betting on the younger running back usually makes the most sense.
Sure.
But redraft standard scoring, I think either of these guys are fine as a top RB.
I think standard scoring, you almost have to tilt Saquon. 600 more rushing yards and almost a yard more per carry average. I mean, that's pretty rock solid. Minus the age, which is the only question mark within that. But standard, you might have to tilt Saquon Barkley, folks.
I mean, I would say, not that we would ever want to predict any injury or things, but if you just think about probabilities, an older player has a slightly higher probability of getting injured than a younger player.
I mean,
That's how I
yeah, I
that's how I
guess,
would have to consider it as well.
I
Or
guess
if you're
that's fair.
talking 10 teams, if you're talking 10 leagues,
Oh, Jesus.
I
I'm
think this is
signing
a
off.
pretty close to a 50-50 case.
I'm signing off right now. Oh, 50-50. Wow. Okay. That's fair enough.
I mean, it's really about honestly where Gibbs fits in. And honestly, most of these decisions are going to be made for you because you're talking a top three pick here, right? So where you're going to be drafting them primarily is which guy falls to you, in those later picks type thing.
Does it matter at all that Atlanta has a better number two in Algier because the Eagles' number two is non-existent between AJ Dillon and Shipley? Like those guys don't even matter to me one bit. So does that play into factor at all for you?
I think you could
Because
take it into consideration. Yes. And
Algier will get at least 100 carries no matter what. He will.
I just know he's just nowhere near as good as Bijan.
Yeah, but the difference between Bijan and Algier is not as big as Saquon and these other two guys. Like Algier has some talent. Saquon is so far in a way better than his number twos and threes on his team.
Okay. For me, it's 50-50. And honestly, in some of these 50-50 situations, I honestly just like taking the team I root for more. You know what I mean? If you're more of an Eagles
Yeah,
fan or an Eagles hater, that's going to probably influence your decision.
that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
Like
I
I've
normally don't
always
think
liked the
like that.
Falcons as well. So
Yeah, I normally don't think like that. I don't love rooting for Philly. I got a
it's
close
a
friend that loves them, so I like to root against them just to cause some feuds in the household. You know what I'm saying?
gotcha. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I mean, RB one or two, that's probably where he's going to be falling this year for most people's drafts. I think the question is there a case where you would take Gibbs or Henry over him? That would be the bigger question for me.
Ooh, I would immediately say no to Henry. Well, that is interesting. I would say no to either one probably because when you're talking 2,000 rush yards and he's on a contract for a couple more years, I mean, I think they do the same thing as they do this year. Like, why change anything that you just did? Give him 330 carries over the season, do the exact same thing. I mean, I wouldn't change a dang thing. But there's a new offensive coordinator in there, isn't there?
Yep, we'll touch on that. There is a new offense coordinator. Kellen Moore is the Saints head coach, former offense coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, so I mean, we love him. You draft him when you can, type thing. If you want to be nitpicky, if you have the first or second pick, we laid the case for all those top running backs there. I think Gibbs is interesting for PPR because Saquon only caught 33 balls last year and 278 yards receiving. And, you could argue against the better backup in Montgomery, but also Jalen Hurts being a guy who's going to run it in the red zone. So those
This
kind
is
of
true.
balance each other out to their own
Yep.
right.
Yep.
The guy behind him we talked out. You want to touch on Shipley?
I don't want to touch on Shipley. He is absolutely irrelevant and shouldn't see the ball more than unless the game's over and they're up by 30 points. He shouldn't even see the ball. Keep Saquon in the whole time. Give him the ball
Okay.
every play. Don't change a thing.
AJ Dillon is also on the roster now.
That dude can't stay healthy. He hasn't been healthy, and he used to be ex-Packer, Thunder thighs or whatever you want to call him. But dude, I'm pretty sure he's unhealthy again. So again, irrelevant, and I don't see him taking any carries away from Saquon one bit.
Okay, well, let's talk about the new offense here. The offensive look, coaching staff. Nick Sirianni is still there. We're all very scared of those stares that he makes. So wouldn't want to say anything against that guy. Congratulations again on their Super Bowl last year. New coordinator, Watulo, longtime confidant of Sirianni. He's been with the team since 2021. Previously served as a passing game coordinator. So this is his year for stepping up and to me, I would expect a very balanced team. I know they're going to strong offense line. It's going to be a running game with the quarterback, the running back, and they have good divas. Even though we're maybe slightly less bullish on them for fantasy purposes, they're still great. They're great FNL receivers, and more of a player centric approach. That's kind of what we see going forward. You talked about trying to just kind of repeat what they had last year, and I think they will. But I think the offense passing game will be a little better.
Okay.
Let's talk about that offensive line. Break them down for us.
We're not just going to talk about the offensive line. We are going to bolster them up on the highest pedestal known to man, folks. This is the best offensive line in all of football. One of the best offensive lines I've ever seen in my life. It has the two best tackle combinations I've seen in so many years in Jordan Marietta and Lane Johnson.
Yeah,
These
those are pretty
guys
good.
are phenomenal. There was only one minor weak link on this offensive line, and that is the right guard and Tyler Steen. Okay, so I'm sorry, Tyler, but you are the only weak link if I had to give a weak link on this offensive line. And the rest of it is just phenomenal. Through and through, amazing. I expect it to be the best offensive line. Again, this year, I am giving it rank number 1. There is a reason they rushed for 2,000 yards. And when you combine Saquon Barkley with the best offensive line in the league, some dirty, dirty things are going to happen yet again.
Okay. Numero uno on the offensive line.
Numero uno. Can't
Got
get any
it.
better than that.
But they do have a hard schedule.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I think defenses fear going up against this offensive line. Every defensive line in the league fears it. You throw in the tush push, and they fear it even more.
Okay. And I mean, you got to give the fantasy playmakers a boost here with a great offensive line, especially if you can rank them number 1 overall. So I guess that mostly just boasts Saquon's case for top 1 or 2
Yeah,
RB, and then Hurts, I think, gives him a little more upside for
yeah.
rushing
The one
and
thing,
passing.
absolutely. The one thing I forgot to mention is kudos and shout out to Cam Jerkins, the center, because before last year he took over for Kelsey, and that was the one question mark that everyone was worried about. New Kelsey, is the tush push going to be the same? And it was, and he did phenomenal. So way to fill some big shoes over there, Cam Jerkins. You did yourself and your team proud.
But does he have a beard? He needs to have a beard like
No one's
Kelsey.
matching that beard where it just pops out of the chin strap and helmet. No one's. I don't think anyone's touching that.
I still missed. I remember his Super Bowl parade outfit. That's still pretty epic.
Which one was that? I don't even remember
Kelsey,
that.
Kelsey. I'll show you a photo.
Oh,
All
was
right,
it
let's
tank
talk free
top?
agency moves. AJ Dillon came over from Green Bay Packers, 1-year contract. Basically, right now he's third on the depth chart. Be interesting to see. Maybe he's mixed in a little more than not. We'll
Doubtful.
see.
Highly
Um,
doubtful.
Doubtful. Okay, it's a
Doubtful.
possibility. And I mean, they did ship off Kenny Gainwell to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was the backup last year. So Shipley and Dillon will be the backup role. We'll see how involved they are. Free agency moves also Dorian Thompson from Cleveland Browns acquired with a Kenny Pickett trade, in a backup role. And then a couple other tight end guys on the depth chart, Kylan Granson and Harrison Bryant, if they do anything or not. And then another receiver, Terrence Marshall Jr. from the Raiders, 1-year deal. Just to compete, I would say somewhere on the roster.
All right. Can I go now?
You can give me your Final Fantasy thoughts on
I cannot
the
because you're
returning
missing a very
Philadelphia,
important segment.
the
My
draft
God,
picks.
the draft picks.
All right, tell me about the draft picks.
Jesus, you're getting washed up on me. You better have a Red Bull. All righty, folks.
He's washed.
Get a new guy in there. This guy's got to retire. Draft picks. I want to highlight. I mean, there's not a lot of specialty players really at all in this draft. However, they got an absolute steal in the first round, getting Jihad Campbell out of Alabama, one of the best linebackers in college football, and they got him at the 31st pick overall. I saw that, and I was like, you did not just let the Eagles defense get even better, and they
That's
sure as
scary.
crap did. And then they went 4 more defensive positions right after that in safety, D-tackle, cornerback, another linebacker, and a center, quarterback, 2 tackles, and an edge rusher. They had a lot of draft picks. Notice how they're building this team inside out. None of these guys are especially outside
That's
players.
scary.
It is defense, it is interior, it is D-line and O-line, and that is a way to win football in the NFL. I like what they did in the draft, man.
This is a scary team to play against.
Whew.
The largest team on paper, probably.
The
and
biggest,
most physical.
the baddest. It's
Mhm.
a song reference that you probably don't know about at your old age, but that's all right. With
All
that
right.
said, Philadelphia, are you going to have a Super Bowl hangover? Or are you going to pound the football and do it all over again? From what I'm seeing with minimal changes on the offensive line and within the roster, I think you're going to pound the football and run teams over yet again. Get Saquon, get Jalen Hurts for that rushing upside. Receiving weapons, we are much, much lower on at ADP. Sorry, fellas, but it's just your run first team. Folks, this was our last team episode What we got coming next is Schluter Rankings. So hit the stupid subscribe button and we'll send them to you for free. Kyle, close us out, baby.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to the Fantasy Football Channel. We'll catch you guys in the next one.